Hi there, it's John from Fantastic Tales and Adventures. Welcome to my video about setting. I've previously said that characters do not exist in a vacuum. This is literally true with regards to setting, unless you're writing a story about spacemen, of course, in which case they may exist in a vacuum for some of the time. But I digress there. Characters exist in a world that you, the writer, have provided for them. There are places they go and objects they encounter. Simply put, setting is the space your characters inhabit within the plot. And of course, setting impacts the reader. It tells the reader what sort of story they are in, and I'm going to use a bit of a metaphor just now. Setting is a jungle, and the plot is a path through it. What do I mean by that? Simply put, it's easy to get lost in the jungle and lose the plot entirely. More literally, it is easy for the writer to get caught up in the description, so much so that the page becomes flattened and becomes boring. Think of the path winding its way through the jungle, with intrusions occurring, an overhanging branch here, roots breaching the topsoil there, even part of the path is completely overgrown or has a big cat sitting on it. Setting impacts the plot, and can do so intrusively, but should not be disconnected from the plot. Let's look at a couple of examples. The King's Court, centre of the government, was a bustle of activity. The king sat on his throne situated against the far wall, whilst robed advisers scurried around him with papers seeking his immediate attention. The walls of the room were quarried stone, though most often they were concealed by red drapes. Royal guards equipped with bows stood sentry over the proceedings on balconies on either side of the room. Each balcony was supported by 4 stone columns, wooden walls placed between them with viewing windows creating galleries for the general public. A red carpet stretched from the main door to a golden cord before the throne, denoting the point which petitioners must not pass, unless they wanted to be shot by the watchful guards. Caleb approached the throne, a blade concealed in his sleeve. That was just a quick paragraph that I wrote for this exercise. First of all, it is by no means complete in its description of a medieval or fantasy royal court. That is deliberate. You'll also notice that I stuck a character Caleb on at the end. That is also deliberate. There are a number of issues here. As far as I'm concerned, the description itself is fine. Not perfect, but fine. However, we have left the path and veered into the jungle. That is one reason I cut the paragraph when I did. If I wanted to include a fully comprehensive description, it would go on and on and on for quite some time. And whilst it does paint a picture for us, hopefully a vivid one, the protagonist is not in it. Secondly, the description is doing nothing for the plot. Perhaps we've stumbled from our jungle path and then stopped and decided to admire the scenery. Very pretty, but we aren't going anywhere. Let's try again, this time weaving the description around the character. Caleb entered the great hall through the petitioner's door. The red carpet leading to the throne stretched before him. The short distance to the throne may as well have been miles. The golden cord told him the point he must not cross, the point of no return. He glanced up at the balconies left and right, housing keen-eyed archers ready to shoot him as soon as he crossed the golden line, the dead line. He approached with what he hoped the courtiers bustling around the throne would consider all due deference, his head bowed, his arms spread, and his body leaning forward in supplication. The peasantry and onlookers in the galleries beneath the archery nests were packed today. Many people would see what was going to happen. Many people would bear witness. He knelt down as he got to the golden cord, his fist balled and steadying himself on the carpet. His fingers brushed against a concealed blade within his sleeve. Okay, in this paragraph the setting intrudes on Caleb. He appears to be planning a murder, perhaps regicide, perhaps suicide by guard. We don't know at this point. We do get some of the description of the King's Court in the second paragraph as we had in the first, perhaps not as much, but it should be recognisable. What is important is that we see it from Caleb's perspective. The setting impacts the plot. Consider the Lake District. For the international among you, it is a national park in the UK and is home to hills, mountains, fells, a lake, waters, meres and tarns. It's a tourist attraction and a great inspiration for the Romantic poets. And I mean the Romantic movement in literature, not people feeling romantic. It is seen as a place of great natural beauty has the association with poetry. It has an impact on the plot of any story set there. Here's the thing. It's also a dangerous place. High winds, fog, sudden rainstorms. It is easy to get lost and hurt when you're out walking. The setting changes from one of poetry to one of harshness, fear, and oppression. Setting impacts character and can be impacted by circumstance. In this case, a shift in the weather. Time for an exercise. This can be done solo, but it's better done as a group. If done solo, you simply won't be able to get feedback. Otherwise, you just need a pen and paper. Invent a character. Use one created in the character creation video, link is popping up on screen just now, or just create one. Then, choose a location from the following list I'm popping up on screen. A house, a railway station, a police station, a restaurant, a school or college, an airport, a shopping centre, a fairground, or a park. Now, write a scene where your character is at or in one of these locations and it evokes an emotional response. Write a few paragraphs describing the setting and how it impacts the character. Remember, you need to pick an emotion and portray the character that way, but you do not need to be explicit about it. In fact, try and avoid using words that directly describe the emotion. When sharing your feedback, try and see if people can guess what the emotion is. If it is attached to a memory, put some clues in and see if folks figure the memory out too. Then, pick a second emotion and repeat the exercise. So, pick a location, make a character, pick an emotion, write a scene with that character in that location, share your work and see if people can guess what your emotion was, then choose another and repeat. We've discussed how setting impacts the reader and how it impacts the character and plot. We also need to consider how the character or the plot affects the setting. Take, for example, a house. It has 2 downstairs rooms, 2 upstairs rooms, a kitchen and a bathroom. Copy that house several times and put different people in it and you get entirely different decoration. Different characters will impact their setting differently. For example, you never need to tell the reader that the character is a slob if there is overflowing ashtrays in their living room, abandoned pizza boxes and half-crushed beer cans littering the floor. The reader can work out that just by looking at things. You wouldn't need to be told that a character is handling a breakup poorly if they answered the front door in their dressing gown, half-empty cups of cold tea sat abandoned on various surfaces. So, time for an exercise to get you thinking about that. Create a character or use the one from earlier. The scenario is they're going to visit a friend's house. However, there is something affecting the friend, which they won't necessarily share but has had an impact. Pick one of the following. The friend's grandparent died a few days before. They have not seen or spoken to the character since. The friend has just found out that their partner has cheated on them. The friend has just found out that they have won the lottery but doesn't want to tell anyone yet. The friend is going on a date tonight with someone they have had a crush on for a long time but only recently got the nerve to talk to them. The friend is in an abusive relationship and their domineering partner is due back tonight after some time away. Use the setting to establish the mood of the scene and the emotion of the character. Write for 20 minutes, and as always, regardless of the prompt, you may never refer to it explicitly in the scene. That will be dictated by character and plot. Go and write for a bit, and then share your work with your group. See if your peers figured out which scenario you picked. Let's summarize what we have discussed. Setting is the jungle that surrounds the path of plot. It should intrude on the plot, but be wary you don't stray into flat detail, thus losing the plot. Setting impacts characters. Setting is impacted by circumstance. Characters impact setting. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. You can find links to my blog and social media in the description below, and you can support this channel by clicking on the button on screen just now. All the best to yous. Happy writing!